Before karate became an Olympic sport, before point fighting and foam pads, there were techniques designed for one purpose: to end the fight immediately. Joint breaks, eye attacks, throat strikes, techniques so dangerous they were removed from competition, hidden from beginners, and eventually forbidden. Today, we are uncovering 8 karate techniques that modern dojos won't teach you, and the real reasons they were banned. Welcome to Martial Road. Before we begin, an important disclaimer. Karate wasn't always a sport. Developed in Okinawa when weapons were banned, it was a system of self-defense against armed attackers, a civilian's last resort against trained warriors. The techniques we're about to examine come from that era. Brutal, effective, and designed for survival, not competition. Modern sport karate evolved to protect athletes and make the art accessible to everyone. But in doing so, entire categories of techniques were removed, modified, or simply forgotten. Let's explore what was left behind, starting at number 8. Number 8 might surprise you. The double leg takedown, known in karate as morote gari. Wait, a takedown in karate? Yes. Traditional karate included comprehensive grappling, throws, and takedowns, but in 2008, the World Karate Federation effectively banned them from competition. The rule change specified that takedowns with direct contact using both hands to grab the legs were prohibited. The official reason? Safety. The real reason? To differentiate karate from judo and wrestling, and to emphasize striking techniques that look better on camera. In traditional Okinawan karate, particularly in styles like Goju Ryu and Uechi Ryu, you find kata movements that are actually takedown setups. The low stance called neko ashi dachi, or cat stance. It positions you perfectly to shoot for the legs. That crossing step in Pinan Shodan, it's changing levels for a takedown. Masters like Choki Motobu and Gichin Funakoshi documented these techniques in their writings. Motobu specifically wrote about the importance of tuite and tegumi, joint locks and grappling, as essential components of karate. When karate was introduced to Japan and later the world, these elements were gradually removed to focus on striking. Today's sport karate practitioners spend years learning kata filled with grappling applications they're never taught to use. The movements are there. The understanding is not. At number 7, we have the most obvious forbidden technique, kinteki geri, the groin kick. Every combat sport bans groin kicks, and for good reason. But what's interesting about karate's approach is how completely this technique has been removed, not just from competition, but from training. In traditional karate, groin kicks weren't just allowed, they were fundamental. Look at any kata, teki shodan, basai dai, kusanku, low, snapping kicks that modern instructors explain as sweeps or blocks, were originally designed to target the groin, inner thigh, and knee. The front kick, mai geri, has 2 versions in classical karate: mai geri chudan, middle level, and mai geri gedan, lower level. Gedan traditionally meant groin height, not shin height like it's taught today. When karate entered Japanese school systems in the 1920s, Gichin Funakoshi modified techniques to be appropriate for children and teenagers. Groin strikes were the first to go. By the time karate reached the West in the 1950s and 60s, an entire generation of instructors had never been taught the original applications. Today, you'll only see groin strikes taught in self-defense specific courses, not in traditional karate training. The irony: every kata still contains them, hidden in plain sight, reinterpreted as something less effective but more socially acceptable. Medical studies confirm what traditional masters knew. A strike to the groin causes immediate incapacitation through nerve shock, regardless of the attacker's size or pain tolerance. This is why it remained a primary target in civilian self-defense systems. Number 6 is one of karate's most iconic and most misunderstood techniques: nukite, the spearhand strike to the throat. You've seen it in kata, fingers extended, hand thrust forward like a blade. Modern instructors demonstrate it on the solar plexus or ribs. But that's not what it was designed for. Nukite was specifically developed to target the soft tissue of the throat. The fingertips, properly conditioned through years of makiwara training, could penetrate or crush the trachea, disrupt breathing, or cause unconsciousness through pressure on the carotid arteries. Traditional karateka spent years conditioning their fingertips, first in sand, then in gravel, eventually on the makiwara striking post. The goal wasn't just hard fingers, but precisely aligned fingers that could withstand the impact of penetrating soft tissues without breaking. The ban is simple. Throat strikes are potentially lethal. A crushed trachea means suffocation. Pressure on the carotid sinus can cause cardiac arrest. Even a glancing blow can cause swelling that restricts breathing hours later. When karate competitions were formalized in the 1960s and 70s, throat strikes were among the first prohibited. Unlike groin strikes that cause temporary pain, throat strikes cause injuries that require immediate medical intervention or prove fatal. Today's karate students learn nukite as a spear hand to the body, but the hand position makes no sense for rib strikes. You'd use a fist. The extended fingers, the precise alignment, the targeting, it all makes sense when you understand the original application, the throat. Some traditional Okinawan dojos still teach nukite correctly, but always with the understanding that it's a last resort technique for life-threatening situations, not for sparring or sport. At number 5, we examine kansetsu geri, the joint-breaking kick to the knee. The knee is the body's largest joint and one of its most vulnerable. 4 major ligaments hold it together: ACL, PCL, MCL, and LCL. A precise kick to the side of the knee can tear one or more of these ligaments, causing permanent disability. In traditional karate, kicks to the knee were fundamental techniques. The sidekick, yokogeri, was developed specifically for this purpose. Not the high, flashy sidekick you see in movies, but a low, stomping sidekick delivered to the outside or inside of the opponent's knee joint. Look at kata like teki shodan or naihanchi. These crossing steps and low, stamping movements, they're positioning you to attack the knee from the side while the opponent's weight is on the leg. Maximum structural damage with minimal effort. Knee injuries and careers, they require surgery, months of rehabilitation, and often never fully heal. When karate became a competitive sport, organizers faced a choice: allow knee kicks and watch competitors suffer permanent disabilities, or ban them and lose some effectiveness. They chose athlete safety. Modern sport karate allows kicks to the leg, but only the calf or thigh, never directed at the joint itself. Kicks that compromise the balance or target joints result in immediate disqualification. Biomechanically, the knee isn't designed to withstand lateral force. It's strong against compression but weak against side impact. A 100-pound person can generate enough force with a sidekick to tear knee ligaments in a 250-pound attacker, if they hit the right angle at the right time. This is why it remains a core technique in self-defense systems. It's one of the few techniques where size and strength matter less than timing and precision. Number 4 is a weapon hiding in plain sight. Ippon Ken, the one-knuckle fist. Standard karate teaches the seiken, the basic two-knuckle punch using the index and middle finger knuckles. But traditional karate had multiple fist formations, each designed for specific targets. Ippon Ken uses the protruding knuckle of the middle finger to focus all striking force into a single point. This wasn't for punching through boards or breaking bricks. This was for precision strikes to vulnerable points: the temple, the soft tissue below the ribs, the throat notch, the solar plexus, nerve clusters on the arms and legs. By concentrating force into one knuckle, you create penetrating trauma rather than blunt impact. Think of the difference between being poked with one finger versus being pushed with an open palm. Same force, completely different effect. Using Ippon Ken requires significant conditioning. The knuckle must be hardened through progressive training, starting with knuckle push-ups on soft surfaces, advancing to harder surfaces, and eventually conditioning on the makiwara. Without proper conditioning, you're more likely to break your own finger than damage an opponent. This is one reason the technique disappeared from mainstream teaching. It requires years of preparation that most students aren't willing to invest. Sport karate requires specific hand formations and striking surfaces. Ippon Ken doesn't meet those requirements because it creates a dangerous point of contact. Judges can't reliably score it, referees can't easily monitor it, and the injury potential is too high for safe competition. More importantly, the targets Ippon Ken was designed for, pressure points, nerve clusters, temple, throat, are themselves forbidden in sport karate. Without access to the targets, the weapon becomes useless. Most modern karate students have never even heard of Ippon Ken. It's been edited out of curriculum, removed from kata applications, and replaced with standard punching techniques that work on heavy bags and focus mitts, but weren't designed for actual self-defense. The knowledge survives in a few traditional Okinawan dojo, taught to senior students with the understanding that it's historical preservation, not competition technique. At number 3, we enter the world karate students are rarely shown. Tuite, the art of seizing and joint manipulation. Modern sport karate has a clear rule: no grabbing, no holding, no joint locks. Strikes must be clean, fast, and immediately retracted. But traditional karate was built on a different principle. Every block is a potential grab, and every grab is an opportunity for joint manipulation. Tsukamiuke means grasping block. When you block a punch, instead of deflecting and resetting, you catch the wrist, step offline, and apply kote hineri, a wrist twist that hyperextends the joint, controls the opponent's structure, and creates an opportunity for a finishing strike. This isn't about strength, it's about mechanics. The wrist has 15 bones and 23 ligaments packed into a small space. Twist the hand against the natural range of motion, and even a small amount of force creates immediate pain compliance and structural control. Look at any karate kata, that down block in a low stance. It's actually catching a kick and twisting the ankle. That high block with a forward step, it's catching a punch and applying a wrist lock. That chamber position at your hip, it's where you hold the opponent's limb while striking with the other hand. Masters like Kenwa Mabuni, founder of Shito Ryu, and Chojun Miyagi, founder of Goju Ryu, explicitly taught that uke doesn't just mean block, it means receive. You receive the attack, control it, and respond. Competitive karate is built on speed and scoring points. Grabbing slows everything down. It creates clinches, grappling exchanges, and injuries. Joint locks can be applied too aggressively, causing sprains, dislocations, or breaks. When point fighting rules were formalized in the 1970s, grabbing was limited to 1 second maximum. Barely enough to control anything. Certainly not enough to apply a joint lock. Eventually, most organizations banned it entirely. The tragic result: students perform kata movements designed for joint manipulation without knowing what they're doing. The block becomes just a block. The stepping pattern that positions you for leverage becomes just footwork. Entire dimensions of karate's original self-defense system have been forgotten. At number 2, we have one of the human body's most devastating natural weapons, the elbow. Elbows are bone-striking bone. No padding, no give. Just the hardest part of your arm driven into vulnerable targets. In combat sports like Muay Thai and MMA, elbows cause more cuts, knockouts, and stoppages than almost any other technique. Traditional karate knew this. The question is, where did the elbows go? They're still there. You just have to know where to look. That chamber position at your ribs, it's a horizontal elbow strike. That high block, follow it with a downward elbow. That low block, the return is an upward elbow to the jaw. Every kata in Shotokan, Shito Ryu, Goju Ryu, and Shorin Ryu contains multiple elbow strikes, but somewhere between Okinawa and the Japanese mainland, between the dojo and the tournament, they were reinterpreted as hand techniques. Sport karate bans elbow strikes for obvious reasons. They cause cuts that require medical stoppages. They generate too much force for safe point fighting, and they can't be controlled with the same precision as hand techniques. When karate entered the Olympics in 2021, elbow strikes weren't just forbidden, they weren't even discussed. The striking distance in Olympic karate is maintained specifically to prevent elbow range, which is the closest striking range before grappling. Real fights don't happen at tournament distance. They happen at conversational range, in hallways, parking lots, crowded spaces. At that distance, your punches have no room to extend, but your elbows are perfectly positioned. An elbow strike generates more force per square inch than a punch because the elbow bone is harder. The striking distance is shorter, requiring less time to accelerate, and the entire body weight can be driven through the point of contact. Some Okinawan instructors still teach elbow applications, not for sport, but for understanding karate's original purpose. In styles like Uechi Ryu and classical Goju Ryu, elbows remain fundamental, but in mainstream sport karate, they've been erased. And at number 1, The most devastating close-range weapon in traditional karate. Hiza-geri, the knee strike. If you watch Muay Thai or MMA, you know the knee is fight-ending. Knees to the body shut down breathing. Knees to the head cause instant knockouts. The femur, your thigh bone, is the longest, strongest bone in your body, and when driven through a knee strike, it delivers catastrophic force to a concentrated point. Traditional karate had this, so where did it go? There in the kata, disguised as kicks or stances. That high chamber position before a front kick. It's actually a knee strike to the midsection. Those jumping or hopping movements in kata, like unsu or kanku dai, they're flying knees when applied correctly. Masters in Okinawa taught that when you're grabbed, when someone closes distance, when punches can extend, you use knees. They're faster than kicks, more powerful than punches, and available from positions where nothing else works. Sport karate is built on maintaining distance. Competitors fight from kicking range or punching range, never from clinching range where knees are effective. The rules actively prevent the distance management that makes knee strikes viable. Add to that the injury potential. Knees to the body can break ribs, damage internal organs, and cause immediate incapacitation. Knees to the head can cause severe concussions, or worse. For a sport trying to gain Olympic recognition and mainstream acceptance, knee strikes were incompatible with the image karate wanted to project. Here's the tragedy. Some students perform kata with knee strike applications, then spar under rules that prohibit those same techniques. They learn movements without understanding their meaning. An entire dimension of fighting, close-range combat, has been removed from their training. Meanwhile, combat sports that embraced knee strikes, Muay Thai, MMA, kickboxing, demonstrate their effectiveness every weekend. The techniques traditional karate developed centuries ago are winning modern championships, just not under the karate label. Some schools are bringing it back. Traditional Okinawan karate, reality-based self-defense programs, and karate instructors who cross-train in other arts are reintroducing knee strikes, not for sport, but for understanding what karate actually was before it became a game of tag. The knowledge isn't lost. It's just been hidden, waiting for people willing to look beyond tournaments and see karate's original purpose. From takedowns to knee strikes, these 8 forbidden techniques reveal a fundamental truth. Karate was never meant to be a sport. It was a civilian self-defense system designed for survival. As karate spread globally and entered the Olympics, dangerous techniques were removed for athlete safety. What emerged was more accessible, but less complete. Sport karate teaches discipline and fitness, which is valuable, but we should acknowledge what's been lost. The good news: these techniques aren't gone. They're hidden in your kata. Traditional Okinawan instructors and bunkai researchers are preserving this knowledge. You can train sport karate for competition and understand the original self-defense applications, but only if you know they exist. Karate means empty hand, the civilian's response when survival depends on knowledge. These forbidden techniques are part of that knowledge. Understanding them doesn't make you dangerous. It makes you more complete as a martial artist. Which forbidden technique surprised you most? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more deep dives into martial arts history, subscribe to Martial Road and hit that notification bell. Stay curious, train with purpose, and remember, understanding karate's complete history honors the art more than pretending it was always a sport. Thanks for watching.